Exercise 11, Speedography Volume 4. Get ready, start. Therefore, I think this needs to be dealt with caution, and I think the GST Council also needs to be apprised of these issues. There are so many slabs. Again, the slabs will come into interpretation. Then, one of the issues which was mentioned even by the earlier is the issue of compensation to the states and especially to the municipalities. We had mentioned at that time the case of Mumbai Municipal Corporation. The municipal corporation with a revenue bigger than most states, only for octroi will have to be compensated on time. Otherwise, most municipalities and large corporations will find it difficult to meet the resources because ultimately the money has to flow from the states. We have different political alignments for municipalities and for the state governments that can also lead to all kinds of complications, which I hope the GST Council, in its wisdom, would have found solutions to, and if not, I would urge that the government has a large veto. The way of GST Council has been structured and rightly so much exercise its powers to ensure that the local bodies and others and even the states are compensated in a very judicious and a timely manner. This is very important. Ultimately, sir, the major chunk of the products like petroleum, electricity, tobacco, and alcohol are anyway kept out of the whole purview of the GST at the moment. The states will decide about tobacco and alcohol, one can understand, but why have you not included electricity in this? Now we have one nation, one grid. As we are talking of one nation, one tax regarding electricity, you also have one nation, one grid. Today, the flow of electricity is from the state to the other. The states are selling electricity to each other. So, I think ultimately it is a major item which needs to be resolved in the due course. It should not be left for 5 years as the council has decided for all these things, and even petroleum for that matter should be resolved as we go along. Petroleum should also needs to be rationalized because all states have taken this as a easy carry to pluck. They think it is a low hanging fruit. Take as much revenue as you can. Even in states like Maharashtra, where I come from, I see that petroleum products are taxed highest. We have refineries there, we have the parts there, but the petroleum or diesel is cheaper in Delhi than in Mumbai, and the cost difference is almost 8 to 10 rupees a liter, which is not small. So we must look at all these aspects very genuinely because this will also affect the economic development of the country. And if we are looking at one nation, one tax, and an equitable growth in the country, I think these issues have yet not been dealt with adequately by the GST Council. So, without going into too much of other issues, the fact is that we have all come to the conclusion that yes, this is the best way forward. It is good for the country, so we all support it. There is no doubt about it, but there will be initial difficulties. There will be initial inflationary pressures also because the taxation of some products is really going to go up slightly. For some other products, it may come down, but in the net effect, there is certainly going to be at least a 2 2.5% increase in taxes across the board in the country. That will also have to be handled very carefully because these pressures should also not lead to loss of demand or consumption because that would ultimately affect economic activity in the country. Having said so, share in totally, I think this is a good bill. We have all in this house dealt at length in our previous discussions on this issue. So, I don't want to go further on this issue except to say that these certain issues need to be handled, especially the arbitrariness of deciding the tax slabs which would be most important as we go forward, and different states have different infrastructures. The ability of officers in one state to deal with one set of issues will be different from that of officers in other states. So I think this is something where the certain government especially will have a handhold the states and to make sure that GST becomes a success and the whole concept of one nation, one tax finally becomes something which we can be proud of. We have traveled a long way on this discussion on GST. Stop. In tax word and phrases. GST Council. Interpretation. Memo. Alcohol. Alignment. Structured. Compensate. Judicious. Adequately. Arbitrariness. Junk. Refineries. Consumption. Infrastructure. Handhold. Hanging fruit. Municipal corporation. Memorandum. Memoranda. Memorandum of understanding. Liter. Petroleum. Maharashtra. Troubled. Stop.